Good that you're watching, because in this video we will talk about the most important figures that influence the rise of positive psychology. So this is the third part of the series. This is the birth of positive psychology. If you don't know me, I am Luc Thomas. I am an organizational psychologist based in the Netherlands, Amsterdam. I have a master's degree at the University of Amsterdam, and one of my specialties is positive psychology. It's my favorite branch of psychology, as it also focuses the most. It's the closest to personal development, let's say, but then rooted in science, which never hurts. So let's get into it, into this favorite thing. So where did we left off? We left off at psychoanalysis and behaviorism dominating the beginning of the 20th century. And then later in the 50s and 60s, there was a revival of the more human side, or the humanistic psychology, focusing on three things: personal agency, conscious experience, and lastly, the innate drive towards growth. And this quote basically sums it up. Humans are not rats in a maze or bundles of symptoms. The humanistic psychologist said that we are individuals striving for meaning, value, and self-expression. Well, later into this 20th century, and parts also into the 21st century, but mainly the 20th century, five important figures: Mihaly, Barbara Fredrickson, Edward Diener, Christopher Peterson, Marty Seligman. We will talk shortly about one of all of them, so you know the most contributing figures to the rise of positive psychology. So let's start with the first one, Csikszentmihalyi. He introduced the concept of flow. Very, very popular and very influential as well for the field of positive psychology. Now, he came up with this concept of flow, and he said it's the optimal experience where one is fully immersed in a challenge, but actually enjoyable activity. So even though it's difficult, it's actually enjoyable. This is a cornerstone of positive psychology. He is been called the second man after Martin Seligman, so the right hand, basically, to give like a small view on it. You have a skill level and you have a difficult level. This is one part of the flow theory, and you see that if your skill is too high but your difficult too low, you will experience boredom. If the difficulty is high for your low skill, you will experience anxiety. And if these are optimally matched, you will get into the flow branch, which Csikszentmihalyi said is something to strive for if you want to be happy and fulfilled. The next one, Barbara Fredrickson. She really pioneered the science behind positive emotions. So she started actually learning about negative emotions like anger, sadness, anxiety, etc. But you focus more like, why don't we study those positive sides, like joy, gratitude, serenity, amusement, and love. And then she also came up with the broad analogy, which basically said, if you experience a positive emotion, it will lead to all certain life outcomes. We will talk about this in the next episode. Then Edward Diener, focusing on subjective well-being, or basically happiness. He created also a questionnaire, which is even used by the UN today. Self-report about happiness or satisfaction, very closely related things. And he also found some outcomes like social relationship. They increase the well-being, and also he pioneered the influence on income on happiness. And he found that like it has diminishing returns. So in the beginning, if you're poor, really helps, but then it's curlinear. It hasn't the return it gives you in the beginning. So that's about this one. Then we have Christopher Peterson. Well, what is positive psychology but without knowing what people are good at? So character strengths. He basically identified 24 universal character strengths, and he organized them even, and he created a common language for discussing human strengths. And he also found that if you cultivate these strengths, it can lead to happiness and fulfillment. Then Marty Seligman, the man that is considered the founding father to the entire movement. He was famous for his shift from pathology to well-being. He pioneered learned helpfulness and learned optimism. We'll learn about that later. And this model of increasing your well-being, and last, unifying the movement, which might be the most important things of all. So these are the most important figures. In the next video, we will talk about positive emotions. So this is Barbara Fredrickson, one of the first we talked about. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.